Hey kids, it's Old Man shouting at clouds, and now with others too. Chatting about the CFL is what they're going to do. Some have no contacts and others have no clues. Everyone will tell us all their quirky football views. Hear what Old Man and others know. It's the CFL Outsiders show.
Hey, GT. What are we going to do this week?
Same thing we do every week, old man. Take over the CFL.
Green is the color. Football is the game. We're all together. Winning is our aim. So cheer us on through the sun and rain. Saskatchewan Roughriders is our name. Are we on? Oh, sorry. Whoops, sorry, guys. Oops, okay. Let's do this here. Hey, kids. Welcome back to another special episode of the CFL Outsiders. I remain, as always, your 100% unbiased, completely impartial, and just chillin' co-host, Old Man shouting at clouds. And it's a full show tonight because, as usual, joining me is GT.
Hey.
And MJ.
Hey, friends, can you believe it's all over?
Just starting. And coming back off the benches because it's the final episode, we've got MJ.
Great to be here.
And Grizz.
Hello, how we doing?
Yeah, good. I understand that the doctor's carved up your back a bit lately, Grizz. How are you doing with that?
I'm doing quite well, thank you. Yeah, the surgery went well. Everything went off without a hitch, and I'm recovering quite well.
Good. Sounds good. And I understand you may have to get up and move around a bit, so we won't get freaked out if you disappear for a little bit here and there.
Yeah. I do have to stretch it out every once in a while just to limber it up once. I'm not supposed to stay stationary for more than 20, 30 minutes at a time. 15 is the ideal time.
Okay, well, make sure you do that because I know full well.
If I get deep in conversation, though, sometimes I get a little lost.
Okay, well, if it looks like you've been sitting there too long, we'll nudge you.
There you go.
There we go. Okay, so we're going to do this a little bit different tonight because the big thing is, of course, the game. Before we jump in, does anybody have any just sort of opening things they want to say in general about it? No? Okay, well, we'll jump in and that'll get people moving. And rather than having me do a 2-hour soliloquy on the game, I thought it might be better to get GT to get us running on the lead here. So tell us about it, GT.
All right. Well, as everybody can see from the intro, Old Man, like most of the province, is still drunk. And if he's not drunk, he's probably at least reveling. And if he's not reveling, he's probably at least braying. So along the lines, you have literally what's happening across the flat line of the country. Anyways, and well-deserved, I must say. They won. That's all they did, I think, but they did win. So good for them. They're fifth, and they deserved it. The way, unlike our esteemed national broadcaster, I think we should start immediately with that because that's probably the, beyond the game itself, that's the biggest commentary I think we'll have. And that was an embarrassing. It was really embarrassing for a national broadcast from an exclusive broadcaster that has had the rights for how many years, and in the biggest game of the year can't get it right, not only initially, but throughout the game, and weren't able to fix whatever problems, and then have not done anything to apologize for them. mention them or even acknowledge that they happened, to what are literally millions of people that were watching that game and had probably one of the biggest audiences a Grey Cup has had in quite a long time. So I think that was the biggest disappointment of the game, even the score, even beyond the score. I heard one kind of outlandish explanation today that there was a major solar flare and it was causing all kinds of static in the ionosphere, and perhaps that was the reason. And I was like, yeah, no, I don't think so. But yeah, it's just really unfortunate again that that TSN was not able to deliver on a product. And who knows where that leads us in, the negotiations for a new TV contract, but I can't see them putting exactly their best foot forward in given yesterday's circumstances. So that's my thoughts on that. I don't know if anybody has any comments before we get in the game itself, but it was
like, does it matter to them? Like, I don't know when the contract is up for renewal, but it was embarrassing is what it was. I think you're right.
yeah.
Well, initially, I thought it was probably just the what do you call it? Just them switching from one camera to another, and they couldn't correlate their movements, But yeah, after it continued, it was quite obvious, just a failure of theirs to get it all right before they even started broadcasting.
Someone told me they were watching on the French. What's the French one? The RDS? Is that what it's called?
RDS,
yeah.
And there was no issues on RDS.
There you
Okay,
go.
And so
that
I was
tells
like,
you.
yeah. And then I was joking that maybe TSN Bell was just wanting to keep up. Like their Rogers had wide outages during the Blue Jays World Series. So I was just wondering if that was just the standard for broadcasting in Canada now.
Yeah. No, I have sympathy for them because I started my career in broadcast, and when you're doing something like remote like that, gremlins can sneak in. But I also agree with the UGT that in a big game like that, they should have double and triple checked everything.
Yeah,
If
and
RDS
again,
was,
and I can understand it. I can understand it early in the game having a couple of glitches, but to not correct them and not even, I don't even know if they knew they were happening because certainly no one acknowledged it. And so I don't even know if the broadcast crew knew that what was going on, which was bad. And it completely ruined the flow of the game because you're trying to watch the game and you're trying to see what's going on. And all of a sudden you can't, I thought we were going to miss the call on that fumble. I thought they were
so
that
too.
challenge, and I thought we weren't going to get the challenge live, and they were going to have to then go to their earpieces and say to the broadcast crew that never went out, so you better restate it. I hope some people are getting a thorough yelling at somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
I would hope so. If it was good with RDS and not with TSN, then the problem was in the TSN switching center. So it wasn't on the backhaul, and I think the backhaul's all fiber these days. So if there were solar flares, it wouldn't have affected it anyway. And the fact that it's happening in the switching center, that wasn't it. They lost something. But anyway, that was the annoying part. For me, it was like half a dozen times during the game, and it was 3 to 5 seconds. So we got everything that was important. Was it the same with everybody, or?
Yeah,
Pretty much.
The most infuriating one for me is that they Ento PI, they challenged it during commercial break. Then they came back, and then as Andre Prue is trying to tell us, it blacked out. I was like, no, what? It was already like, I just was like, that was a huge, big event, and it just got completely missed across the board.
There's no way with people texting and all kinds of technology that the guys in the booth, they had to have known that something was going on. And I guess, how do you remedy that? But again, that's the production team. So I just found frustrating.
If it was only 5 or 6 times,
Yeah.
it felt like a lot more than that. It felt like a lot more because every time it happened, it seemed to be in a major moment. It wasn't just like there's a commercial and it went blank. It was like, whatever. No, it was in a major moment. It seemed like every time. Anyways, it was, I think that was the biggest talking point outside of the game proper. The game itself, it was a good game. It was well played. I thought it was exciting. It obviously got very exciting at the end. I thought there was quite a bit of confusion in the game, including on that challenge for the pass interference. I thought that was, again, maybe it was the television, but it seemed really confusing. I will say that this, though, before I get too much more into the game, these are my general impressions, because for the first time I watched the game with my grandchildren, and I had an 8-year-old sitting on my lap, bouncing up and down and moving his head back and forth in front of me the entire game in excitement. So I was really hard to concentrate and answer all of his questions and actually watch the game at the same time. So I had that going on. So it was a different experience for me entirely. So I do have a more of a general impression, then I'll let the 2-hour soliloquy, as you said, old man, come from you on the finer points. So, but I thought a few things about the game. Number one, I thought Montreal, and I put this out on Blue Sky during the game, Montreal couldn't tackle for their life. They just completely forgot how to tackle. They looked like the BC Lions. They were just brutal. And that was, and they allowed a lot of plays to be longer than they needed and deserved to be throughout the game from start to finish. I thought as well, there was a couple of interesting calls. I thought Saskatchewan's offense played well enough to win, but their defense won the game for them. It was their defense that won the game last week, as we talked about on that one play with A.J. Allen, and it was their defense that won the game for them this week with one play late in the game on that goal line stand, and I think it was the DB that came in and did that. Campbell, exactly, Tevin Campbell. So I think that play really, again, won the game for them. And that was a really interesting play, and I'm sure we want to talk about it, but just that play, there was also a huge difference in that play, and that was where they placed the ball. And again, they never talked about it a lot on the broadcast. I didn't think they gave a really solid explanation. Now, of course, I had an 8-year-old on my lap, and I was trying to explain that to him, and I was trying to explain how that difference could happen was when they placed the ball, because they placed it on the goal line to the 30, rather than if they had placed it on the 1 where he was initially hit, Saskatchewan would have got the ball back like they did, but they would have got it on the 1-yard line instead of the 30-yard line, and that might have changed the entire last minute of the game as well. So that was as huge. The play itself was huge, but then the placement of the ball was, in my mind, equally as big. So that was really important. And then there seemed to be this one weird thing in the middle of, like in that late drive by Montreal, where there was massive confusion as to what was being called and what wasn't being called. And I thought it was a second down, and all of a sudden they called it a penalty. Then it was a first down at 1st and 10, and I couldn't follow it at all. I was completely befuddled by what was going on there. And again, and no explanation. And, at all. So it was bizarre. It was bizarre. So
that was my comment to MJ as I was watching the game. I said, biggest game of the season, and who are you choosing as your commentators?
Yeah.
To
And
start,
yes.
Yeah,
So
those
those
guys.
would not have been my top picks, right? So I think that really changed the experience of the game for me. I missed that color commentating by some people, and I think, where's La Police to jump in on some of
Lapo
the.
would have told us exactly what was happening.
So I think it was a real miss on the commentating.
I think that was seniority on TSN's part, and I agree. Dustin and Lapo is the best team they've got. They should have had them on that.
Yeah,
agreed.
I'll say that, and I've noticed it as well this year. I think Rod Smith has really gone downhill. Like he was the guy, and now he just seems to be talking points one after another and not making much sense and stumbling around. And then put them together with Suter, and it's a mess. So
maybe they'll give him the Dunnigan treatment.
Yeah, maybe.
That tackle you're talking about, excuse me to digress a bit there, that tackle at the goal line there, he got hit a yard back, but his forward motion carried it right too. He placed it on the goal line. He didn't quite get over.
Yeah, I know.
So I think that's why they placed it there and moved it out.
I'm not saying it was the wrong call. I'm just saying how important it was that where they got played.
I see.
Yeah. Yeah, not that it was the wrong call. I agreed with the call. I just wasn't sure where it was going to end up. But I will say this. So a couple of other key points just from my basement's point of view. Number one, I have 2 grandchildren. My 8-year-old, and both of them, it's their very first game they've ever watched. They know nothing about football other than they know that I'm a fanatic. And so they were at our house for the last couple of days, and the deal was they're watching the game. And okay, so they're watching the game. The deal from my point of view was, okay, then there better be snacks. So I got the list of snacks. They got to watch the game. So that was good. So starting from there, it became, okay, the jerseys that we're auctioning off next year came out of the closet, and they got to pick their jerseys. So not knowing any of the teams, the youngest, who is the girl, she decided she would pick the Alouettes jersey. And then you'll like this, MJ. She's 6. She's 6. I'm 6, so I'm going for number 6. So she just so she is now a Tyson Philpott fan. So yeah, she is now.
Aww,
I'm 6, she said. So throughout the game, though, she's taking the jersey on and off depending on how they're doing. So every time they got behind, she tore the jersey off and threw it on the ground. And then they'd make a play and she put it back on. It was hilarious. It was really funny. It was really good.
She might get along with my kid, who was also doing something very similar throughout the game. While he was shooting basketball hoops and running in front of the TV and standing in front of the TV and moving. So between blackouts and a kid, it's been my whole experience all year long.
Yeah, so the 8-year-old, as I said, is peppering me with questions the entire game because that's who he is. And he's decided he doesn't like either of the teams, doesn't know which ones is which, but since his sister took the Alouettes jersey, he's going to wear the Rider jersey. Yeah. So he had the Rider jersey on, and he was quite happy that they won, but he wasn't decided that was going to be his team. He was just wearing it last night.
Well, so there's hope for him yet.
Yeah, there's hope. So but
we may get him in green and gold.
No, today he went for the blue.
I know what to send him for his birthday.
Yeah, no, today he went for the blue and gold. He decided he was going to be blue and gold in the West and black and gold in the East, so you know that. But here's the other one that I thought was my favorite part of the game. So as I said, he's 8 years old. He's never watched a game of football in his life. And midway through the third quarter on a kickoff, Saskatchewan takes an unnecessary roughing penalty, if you happen to remember that, right? Mm-hmm. And knocks them back. So it
wasn't really a good call.
No, well, this is it, Chris. This is the best part of it. Unnecessary roughness. And he says, unnecessary roughness? What's that? Don't they know this is football? It's supposed to be rough. It's football. It's just football. And then he's yelling at the TV already. So then they're showing the replay and he's going, that's not even rough. That's not rough. It's just football.
Yeah.
So then I had to sit down and explain a weak call to him because I said, yeah, that's pretty weak. What's a weak call? Yeah, anyways, it was the best part of the game, was trying to explain everything going on for the game. But back to the game proper. In reality,
before you do that, GT, let me jump in before you do that. Because 2 things. One, I want to thank you for getting the next generation of fans going. I love that. And I do want to say that call on that kickoff, to me, that was really the only mistake I saw the officials make, and it wasn't a huge one because it was a penalty, but it should have been a illegal block, a holding. So they gave
illegal block. Yeah,
the worst thing the officials did all game was give one team 5 extra yards. So I thought that was great in a championship game.
Yeah. Well, when I looked at the stats today, actually, I was pleasantly surprised at how few penalties there were. Montreal actually only took 2 penalties, and I think Saskatchewan took 5 or something like that. So It was really quite a clean game.
Yeah, my neighbor was visiting with me and watched it with me, and both of us commented on how fast the game moved along with very little calls.
Yeah,
half flew by. I was like, an hour, and we're already at halftime. Yeah. Like, oh.
Again, I thought Saskatchewan's offense did enough to win. I didn't think they were spectacular, but that is Saskatchewan's offense. And then I thought I was very impressed. And given the awards at the end of the game, I guess we can talk about those. Some debate in it seems to be whether it should have been Ouellette versus Harris. It's always the quarterback, so you knew that was going to happen.
Yeah. And he's going to retire, so they're going to give it to him.
Yeah, no, he's not going to retire.
But you don't think so?
But personally, in my opinion, the most valuable player on the field was Scott for Montreal. He had the best game, I think, of any player on the field, and the most impactful game. He kept Montreal's offense when they couldn't drive the field. He made big run after big run after big run, and a couple of really strong catches as well. So I thought he had a tremendous game for Montreal. And that one drive where they went down the field, boy, that I looked at the kid sitting on my lap and in the Saskatchewan jersey, and I said, nervous yet? And he went, what do you mean? Am I supposed to be? I said, all of the province is nervous at this point.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
So I imagine there was a few fingernail biting going on in Regina and everywhere else during that drive by Montreal.
When I found out, I think, I know, it was listening to Dunk on the Riders post-game show. I found out those awards, you have to get your votes in 5 minutes before the end of the game. And what you do is I think there's 38 of them, and they said they pick a MVP and an MVC for both teams. And then whichever team wins, those are the players that get it. That's the structure of it. Yeah. See, personally, I thought the player of the game should have been Sales with an interception and that recovery. That was it. He got hit back about a yard outside the goal line, but the ball flew forward and it was on the white stripe when Sales landed on it and recovered it. So that's why it was the 30-yard line. But Sales got the recovery on that, and he got the first interception. So I thought he should have been the MVP and Campbell should have been the Canadian. That was a fantastic hit to stand the blocker right up into him and cause that fumble, plus he got an interception. But it didn't go that way. And I'm not sure. I think that fumble happened with less than 5 minutes left in the game, so that's maybe why they didn't get the votes.
Yeah, probably. But I've always said, it always goes to the winning team, but it shouldn't necessarily. It's the most valuable player in the game. It should be open to either team. If a guy has a 200-yard plus game and their team happens to lose, so that he can't win, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Not taking away again from Ouellette. And Harris had a pretty good game for Harris. He did what he does. He got the ball down the field very quickly and they made a couple of impressive drives. So give him full credit. But again, I just thought that was odd. And going back to that, in a couple of Montreal mistakes, the interception that should have been a pick by Ento, that was really unfortunate because that was a touchdown waiting to happen. And I'm not sure everyone else's opinion, please, on the interference, because I thought that was not a really weak call, but a weak call. I thought it could have gone either way necessarily. And I didn't think he was draped all over him or anything. So I'm not sure. It may have just been my anti-green glasses, but
Well, this hasn't been called consistently all year. And then that kind of just took the wind out of the Montreal defense's sails because they played garbage after that call until they kind of woke up.
But I don't think it was the draping on him, GT, that they called the interference on. It was he wrapped his arm right around him and slowed down his movement to the ball. Right at just when he first joined at him, came up to him in the rush, he put his arm right around in front of him and stopped his movement, and that's interference, right?
Were they hand fighting before that? Because there was another call that they didn't call because they were both there was a receiver and a DB hand fighting, and they let it go.
I think that was the one to Rambo and Sales down the sideline.
Yeah. So
which they could have called one there too. Yeah. That one I wouldn't have been surprised if they let it go, but I can see why they called it, because I agree with you, Grizzy. He wrapped his arm around the waist and slowed him up and turned him a bit, and they keep saying that's the standard.
But they didn't even call that one on the field, right?
No, that had to go to the command center. So I thought that was a good challenge from Mace. I would have thought it was good even if he lost it, but it was close enough, and it certainly changed the tone of the game.
The party
Yeah,
line at my
absolutely.
house is that was not interference.
Of course. Opinions on that vary whether you're from one province or 9 other provinces of the territory.
Well, but no, not so, because I actually, when I go into a game, I was saying that to my neighbor last night. When I go into a game and the green and gold aren't playing, I really don't care who wins. I just want to see a good game. You know what I mean? Because it's not my team playing, so I just want to see good football.
I think we mostly got that. I think, those two, that first interception, that was a duck. I mean, he threw that a long way, but it still was a floater by the time it got down. Now, it was a great move by the DB Sales, I guess it was, to cut underneath and make that and track that ball. But that ball, if it had been on a rope, he wouldn't have been able to do that. It was a bit of a duck, that ball, but certainly at the same time, a really good defensive play, So again, there wasn't anything, as you said, old man. There wasn't anything egregious that was really bad by either team. I thought they played pretty solid both sides at times because they had their moments. Montreal's a big play team that made big plays and scored very quickly to get back in the game when they weren't having anything going. And Saskatchewan's very methodical and just moved, and that's how they scored. Those two long drives, that one where they started on their own 18-yard line and took it all the way down the field, was a very impressive drive.
Yeah, just like I said last week, it is methodical. It's like building a wall. They just keep trying, and if it goes wrong, they just keep coming back. I didn't mention it last week, but I thought one of the effects of, I'll just throw it in now, one of the effects of last week's the Western Final game and that last 3 minutes where Mace put so much trust in his players, just, playing it to make sure they could get a chance to win it. I've been saying to people, I don't think they're talking about, oh, they're a Grey Cup team now, they'll lose a bunch of players. I don't think anyone leaves that organization voluntarily, because you show that kind of faith and your trust in your players, they won't just run through a wall for you. They'll probably move a mountain for Mace right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure that they have a lot of players that are eligible to leave anyways. I'm pretty sure they've signed most of those guys up they're not sure that there's a lot of free agents on that list, on that roster.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Like I said, folks, feel free to jump in for this anyway. I was also going to mention you were talking about the crew of Suter and Rod. And I don't know, Suter's sitting there talking about the fact that Sam Emelis, who grew up in Montreal, got a question in French at the press conference and answered it in fluent French.
Yeah, he almost like he was surprised.
Yeah, you didn't mention that any of the Saskatchewan players were fluent in English.
Yeah,
Anyway, that's just me.
if I had a pick, I think the fans should have been able to vote who they wanted to call that game.
Yes.
Forget about
Yeah.
seniority, because it really does change how you enjoy the game.
Yeah,
And you're not a union. Are they in a union? Like, a merit should be over seniority, I think, for events like this.
Yeah, it should. All of the referees and the officials are all judged, and then it's a meritocracy, as you said, that allows you to get to the final game. So should the broadcast crews be, right? And that's not the best broadcast crew, so it just isn't.
Yeah, I would agree. Yes. I would also say, though, that you were talking about, it was a good game, but it wasn't like either team played mistake free. They both made their shares. Montreal gave the ball away the few times there. Saskatchewan took a couple of silly penalties. There was the one towards the end of the game where they were in field goal range and could have gone back up by 11, and Ouellette just takes the stupidest roughing penalty I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And then there was the one that was when Montreal was down getting closer to the goal line and Rose got called with the horse collar. Even there, Suter was saying, well, I don't know, because he didn't pull him backwards. If you put your hand up there, that's a horse collar. And
Exactly.
even if it shouldn't have been in a game like that, if you give the referee a chance to make a decision, you're making a mistake. So,
Yeah, and I thought that's where Suter finally fell back into his homerism, because that was like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I think that's not necessarily a penalty. Yeah, it's a penalty.
It
That's called horse collar. That's the definition. That's the
Yeah.
definition.
As he's talking about it and they're replaying it,
Yeah.
the words and the action do not match. He's looking at a different video.
His was blacked out.
Yes. Yes. And I would also say that I think it was the first touchdown by Montreal third string quarter Peterson. I keep getting Patterson, I think. Anyway, I thought the first touchdown by him, even though it was a short yardage one, was an absolutely beautiful play because he needed to get the yard. Thurman came over the top and got a good solid hit on him, and he's in that pile. He did a spin move and twisted around to get his back across the line. So that was a very nice play. And it was a shame that he ended up having the fumble later because that, luck of the draw.
Brett Lauther's going to send him a gift basket.
Oh, yeah. How about that? No kidding. Because when he went out the first time, I was like, yeah, no, let's see how this works. Then he made the long one, and then when he missed the short one, it was like, oh boy. Again, I would just imagine the bridges were full for people jumping off of them, except that they don't go very far enough to hurt yourself in Saskatchewan.
Yeah. Yes.
He couldn't blame the holder on that one.
Well, that's the TSN shady moment. They did the close-up replay of the perfect hold.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's all on you, Brett. Yeah. Yes.
TSN.
No.
Thank you,
But-
TS.
Yeah. Yes, but I do think I thought it was interesting too, not just one of those coincidences, but the fact that really I think both of those last two games were won by plays where the defense stopped the quarterback trying to go off left tackle and get a first down or score. They were eerily similar the way it was just Campbell that stood up the blocker this time, not Allen.
Well, I appreciate that both teams were gambling on 3rd and short instead of running out the kick team for like when you're on the 4-yard line. I gave them a lot of crap last week for that. And this game, both of those coaches went for it.
Yeah. Yeah, they were playing to win.
Which was so much fun.
Yes.
It really added to the game instead of, another 3 points. Like it really added to the drama of the game.
It took down the amount of flexing on the field, but the enjoyment, I think, went up overall.
Yes.
Yeah, I've always been a big fan of going for it in 3rd down. It just seems it's so anticlimactic when they do it the other way, right?
Yeah. No, I thought it was a well-coached game. I didn't think there were any real coaching errors. The errors that were out there were from players just sort of missing the execution a bit here and there. And I did also, I don't know if anybody saw the post-game interview, the one actually at the podium with Harris, but there were a couple of interesting minutes in it because he ended up, the last thing he said was, I thought, fairly confident. He said, right now, I just feel like our best is better than everybody else's best. So that's got some belief in it. But the other one that I liked was there was one of the reporters, it might have been Justin Dunk again, who said to him, "Are you going to send Ento a thank you card?" And Harris said, "For what?" And he said, "For that pick 6 he dropped." And without missing a beat, Harris says, "You mean the one he knocked down?" It wasn't a drop, it was a bat down. So I enjoyed those things anyway.
Yeah, I was long gone by that time.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, I was motivated to stay in here at all.
Yeah. I had my fill.
I forget who it was that asked Terrace right on the podium about, retirement. And he's like, well, I'm between my best days and retirement. And that's all
Yeah.
I gave.
Yeah,
That's the last
that was a
thing you
good
want to
comment.
Think about.
Yes, I thought so.
Something else, just general game comments and the product comment was there was a great deal of outrage in the basement when those two people, whoever they were lucky enough to be winners of some contest I never heard of, to bring the Grey Cup into the field. I'm like, how did that happen? Where are the Mounties? What is going on? Between myself and my wife, we were both like aghast that this was not brought in by somebody in a scarlet tunic.
Did they pay for the sponsorship? Did the Mounties pay for sponsorship of bringing the Grey Cup in? There was so much sponsorship, and I get it, but it was a lot. Like the coin toss.
I had the RCMP there first bringing it out, and then I think they switched it the bringing it onto the field part. So I don't know.
It was at the beginning of the game where they had these contest winners bring it out. The presentation at the end of the game was done by the Mounties as always.
Yeah.
But even at the beginning, you don't normally even see this is the first time we've even seen the Grey Cup come out until they show it, usually coming through the stands with like 5 minutes left in the games, coming out of the tunnel.
Right, man.
With the Mounties, and then it's presented at the end of the game. So this was a complete change, and we were confused, and then we were outraged.
Yeah, well, it was just strictly a sponsorship thing, and it's money. That's all there was to it.
Of
yeah,
course,
like the coin toss. What was that coin toss company? I don't even know because I didn't
some
care.
crypto coin. Don't worry, it'll be
Crypto
in your
coin with the prime minister with his crypto coin.
Yes. Hey, but he launched that sucker.
Yeah,
I thought he was going to put that coin flip into orbit.
I'll tell you though, the prime minister has championed Grey Cup more than anyone else this year because I was listening, as one does, a politics podcast that's based in Alberta, and they probably mentioned Grey Cup 30 times that episode because it was a deadline. And so then all the puntins were talking about Grey Cup and what team they were cheering for. So I was like, well, Mark Carney, thank you for your free sponsorship of Grey Cup and the CFL.
Well, maybe he's a CFL fan. Who knows? I mean, he's
well,
allowed.
he said he was cheering for the Riders. So
Well, he made that decision right in within the interview though, because he said he wasn't cheering for anyone, and then they told him there was another M. Carney on the Riders, and that won him over.
Yeah, and then Carney got injured, and I was like, oh no, he's cursed them.
Yeah. Well, I saw a post today that said he was out at Riderville as well, just basically schmoozing with the fans. So you like that in a prime minister.
He's a prairie guy, I guess.
One of my all-time favorite Grey Cup stories is 2008 in Montreal when we were at the one and only Maxim party that happened at a Grey Cup, and it was basically scantily clad young ladies everywhere, and we're all in our regular paraphernalia, half in the bag, and there is the Minister of Defense, Peter MacKay. And he's double-fisting beers at the Maxim party. And there's literally double-fisted beers at the Maxim party.
No.
And there's 2 security guards on either side of him. And they're just like shaking their heads. And he's like, yeah, he's having a good time. That was pretty funny. Actually, though, Stephen Harper used to sit 4 rows over from us at the Rogers Center for games when the Argos played out of the Rogers Center. And he just sat there without security. If there was security, you did not know where it was. And he was just watching the games. And I wish they would bring back the tradition of the prime minister doing the ceremonial kickoff. Those were fun.
Yeah.
If you go back
Pierre
and watch old
Trudeau
games.
in his fur coat and fedora.
Yeah. And Diefenbaker giving it a kick. That was pretty fun, too. He
I
almost
bet you
landed
Mark
on his
Carney
butt.
could kicked it pretty far if it was based on his coin toss.
Sponsor that. How do we?
How do we sponsor that? Your taxpayer money.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Everybody lobbied the CFL and the...
Yeah. Got to get the prime minister on side, though.
Yeah.
We'll do it. We'll wait for an election and then promise him 5 votes, and that'll get it. All right. Have we covered off the majority of the game here? Any other points burning points that need to be made?
Guys, we are 41 minutes in, and we have not used the word hamstring.
Yes.
Can you believe it?
Yes.
And he was 59 minutes in or whatever before it came to...
Before they had to. Yeah.
Well, that's true. But I think, so this is the thing with Montreal. Alexander was not yipping at the fans. He wasn't doing his eating thing. He wasn't beaking at players and coaches, at sidelines, at play. He wasn't, and he just was not his usual self. That team lives or dies by him being cocky. And he wasn't, as per his usual standard. I think that really hindered. They almost started to play like they were playing with McLeod Bethel in there for a little while. And I was like, oh no, he doesn't have his magic today. And then I'm just wondering if he was so stressed about that hammy and was really worried about it and always trying to guard it. And he didn't have time to yell at fans or players or coaches.
I think you're right, MJ. There was a definite feeling, even just watching them. in warm-up and coming onto the field that there was a stress level on Montreal side that wasn't evident on Saskatchewan side. Saskatchewan looked like a business trip. Montreal looked like we're just here trying to do our best type of thing. There was definitely a difference in aura between the two teams.
Yeah,
And
at one point in our basement, we were like looked at each other. We're like, the defense knows they're not Alexander's hamstring, right? Like they can still play.
Yeah.
But anyway, that word. I'm really happy to not hear that word for a long time.
All the things you could have talked about at halftime. There were so many other things. And I
Yeah.
think that was a real loss.
Yeah, they did go on and on about it, and like you said, it was 59 minutes before it became apparent that it was really given out on him. But I think you could see through the entire game that he was being cautious with it. The amount that he stayed in the pocket was not what we've seen from him.
Didn't run around much at all.
And I think a couple of those ducks on those interceptions were part of that too, because he couldn't launch the way he wanted to off of that leg, right? So I think those were a bit of an indication as well. So you just asked anything else about the game, old man? What we have cut, the only invested opinion here completely off, and you said you had 2 hours worth of stuff you could have talked about. So what did you want to say before we just move on to the MGK halftime?
I managed to sneak in most of the relevant points, really.
Okay.
About the only two that I didn't get to, so I'll say them right now. One is what we were talking about, all the defensive plays on both sides. There were some excellent plays, but we didn't mention the deep pass to, I think it was Sneed, that Revis came over from safety and managed to knock down on.
That was a
pretty damn good
play.
range.
Yeah, that was a really great play.
And the other one, just because in some ways it harkens back to the Riders of 10, 12, 15 years ago, I was absolutely delighted to see them starting 4 Canadian receivers.
Yeah, I was surprised when I saw that opening lineup. I counted those and I went, wow, that's a lot of, that's 4. Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, and they traded it off by using 4 Americans on the O-line, which really made a difference because frankly, AJ ran well and made some big runs, but they were opening good holes for him all evening, and the protection was incredible. Again, in his podium podcast, they asked Harris about that, and he said, I don't know, I needed my shoulder pads out there tonight. I felt like I didn't get touched. And he did get hit once or twice. It felt to me just like, I don't know how to say it other than professional, methodical. They had a plan that was going to win that game, and they knew if they could stick to it, they would, and it worked out.
Yeah, they stuck to it to a T. Yeah,
yes,
for sure.
They did.
Yeah,
they are. I'm quite impressed, and we'll see what the future holds. But I think that's covered it fairly well, and we don't have a lot more to do. We've got a little bit of news, and then we're going to give you a bit of opinions here.
Oh, you're just going to skip right by the MGK halftime show?
Are we going? Well, I asked if anybody else. Strangely enough, I was doing other things while MGK was playing.
It's its own separate category?
Sure. Give us your opinions then, anybody that wants.
I didn't pay any attention.
I was tending children, so I did not watch it other than for a very brief period of time. And it looked like a typical halftime show, as I suggested it would be. Cheerleaders thronging in front and the band playing away. There seemed to be some controversy online that he tried to do a Canadian song, got the bands confused or something, because he started out with a cover version. And
Jim Blossom.
I don't know. I wasn't following it. Didn't matter that much to me. But anyways, it didn't look horrible. It looked okay, I guess is what it was. Again, not knowing him, the artist that well, I can't say good, bad, or indifferent. So.
This game, for a change, I didn't record. I did watch it in real time. So while he was on was my chance for my halftime bathroom break. Although I will say the one thing I did notice just when he came out there is it looked to me like he was wearing a Chargers jersey.
It was a Ticats.
You could have at least gotten a CFL jersey.
It was a Ticats jersey.
I immediately said Chargers jersey. I will say later on, after they showed it from the back, it did look more black than blue, and the shoulder stripes were more solid than bolt. I think the guitar strap bolt was throwing the visuals off a bit.
Could have been.
But I immediately said Chargers too, and I thought either the league and he was going to get ripped for that. If you're going to wear a jersey, at least wear a CFL jersey rather than an NFL jersey.
Snoop Dogg wore a BC Lions jersey.
Exactly. So yeah. So I thought that I said that, and again, that was a brief moment of discussion in the basement.
It was a fashion jersey.
It was a fashion jersey.
Yeah. I don't think it represented any team. It was just a jersey.
Just a
generic.
It's like football, you say?
was
He's like ordering it online, like it doesn't even know what football is.
Yeah.
That's 100% what I said. Some stylist said, yes, this is football. And then he wore it. He was like, good, it's not green. It's not blue and red. Excellent.
Yeah. But I'm surprised because Max wasn't allowed to wear a black and gold jersey, like for Arkell's. He wasn't even allowed to wear a football jersey. They told him no.
Last week, you mean, or when?
No, just when they played halftime, they weren't allowed to wear football jerseys.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But maybe this one was a fashion jersey. So
yeah,
it's
maybe
different.
that's it. Yeah.
You know what? I watched both.
Or maybe it had mobile on the back or something.
Yeah, maybe. Like Bitcoin, some kind of Bitcoin and mobile. So I watched both. I watched Our Lady Peace, and they played. My husband was like, his voice has gotten remarkably lower. I'm like, oh, you're not going to hear any falsetto today. But they played their hits. They played one new song. They played their hits. It sounded great. I loved them. That was a little nostalgia for me. And you know what, MGK, I recognized a couple songs from Out and About. And as far as halftime shows go, it wasn't bad and it wasn't amazing. It was kind of in the middle, as I expect, kind of what appeases to a mass market of people. And
yeah, it was pretty standard.
It was pretty standard.
Yeah.
I think, this is my take, I think he was lip syncing.
Well, I thought the Our Lady Peace, the first track was really obviously lip syncing, and then it got better. But the first one, like again, it came up like, wow, that's not lined up at all.
Maybe it's just the TSN.
Yeah, it could be. But
Yeah.
and they might have been, and again, a lot of times they are, right. So it's it is what it is, you know. Based on the temperature, they a lot of times they are.
I don't think Green Day did though.
I saw today, I can't remember what media platform it was on, but CFL was like, well, rate the halftime show. If you had 10 stars, how many stars would you give? And the majority of people were like, actually, I was surprised. I would give this like a 7 or an 8.
Yeah.
There was nothing like to criticize. Like, I was entertained. It was rock. People were dancing. Like, what more do you?
That's kind of how I felt about it.
Yeah. Memorable? No. But
Memorable? Meh. 7? Yes.
Definitely not memorable.
No.
But mind you, I had no idea who the band was. None whatsoever, right? I mean, Our Lady Peace. Now I'm very familiar with them, but that halftime band, like I couldn't even tell you. MJ his name was.
It's Machine Gun Kelly. Well, MGK now.
MGK, Machine Gun Kelly.
Machine Gun Kelly. Well, he wasn't really very machine gunning with that guitar. The girl in the band stole the show.
yeah,
Yes. She did.
Well, I'm kind of with you, Grizz, because I didn't know who Machine Gun Kelly was until I heard the announcement.
And until you just told me right now, I had no idea because he said at the end we're so and so or whatever, and with all the noise, I couldn't even pick it up. So
Yeah. He wasn't very chatty with the crowd either, right? Like, I feel like a lot of other bands were talking. I don't even know if he knew what city he was in or what event he was at.
Are they a Canadian band at all?
No.
They're not, eh? Okay.
He's Megan Fox's boyfriend.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, actually, my two youngest sons were over and watched the game with me, and I was kind of surprised because the one thing that my middle son was upset about, two things, was the Bitcoin, that it wasn't a real Canadian coin. That just blowing up. And then when he saw the band, they're not Canadian.
Oh, well, it hasn't been for a while now, guy.
Yeah, listen, you cannot defend that. It's not going to happen. If you want a major act there are only so many Canadian major acts, and at some point you run out of them. So you are going to have international acts if you want it. Either that or you're going to have mid-level or smaller bands, and that's just not what the league needs or wants. So I have no problem with international acts being the headliners at the halftime performers by any
Well,
means.
and like the Weeknd's already done the Super Bowl. He's not going to come and do Grey Cup.
Well, he could, and that would be
But
great.
he's not. Yeah,
But you know, and that would be great. But yeah, you're right. Those guys are not going to do it. For some reason, certain acts just have decided that they're not interested, and that would be way out there anyways. Because you know, again, they just are. They're so urban averse that I don't think they would ever do that much of an urban act. Even though the Weeknd's not really, but you know what I mean.
One thing that was interesting, I don't know if this is true or not. I forget who said it, but just thinking back to the cheerleaders, but they said that that was the first time that they had all the cheerleaders plus the cheer teams all at the Grey Cup. So they had
teams.
So they had like the cheerleading. So like they were tossing them up and throwing them all around while they were dancing, and they had the drummers there. And I thought, oh, okay,
Yeah, that was fun.
that was kind of cool. But
Yeah, I enjoyed that part.
first time.
That was
Well,
almost
I-
where I paid any attention. You know, I mean, it kind of caught my attention. I watched that.
Yeah.
I quite liked it. Yeah.
We clocked the BC Lions have a male dancer that's not on the stunt team, and we were so excited in our house. We're like, oh, that's amazing.
Well,
But yeah, it was really interesting.
Yeah, they that's interesting because I'm pretty sure that when the Edmonton cheer team, which includes guys and that are the throwers for want of a better word, I think they've always been there. The Argos have those guys, and I think they're part of the team that travels. The Argos also cheer team also includes got male dancers, and I'm not sure that that's the first time that they've ever been part
I've
of it.
never
but maybe
seen
I've
the
just never
stunt
known.
teams there.
But no, I think they were stressing that it was in their entirety. Every team's
The drum lines, the stunt team. Who was the other stunt team? I knew
Who's
the
got a
Elks stunt team.
Drum line.
The Elks have a drum line.
Yeah.
Do they? Okay,
They
I never
play
knew that.
over top of everything, and it echoes in the stadium.
Okay, I never knew
Yeah.
that. I know them
Yeah.
for their acrobatic stuff, but I didn't know they had a drum line.
No, they have a drum line.
Oh,
They
that's
have a
great. I
stunt
love drum.
team. Yeah. Oh, they're kind of like a college team in that way, right? They have everyone. They just
Oh,
need
they
a
kind of
marching
play
band.
like one.
yeah. low shot.
Nicely done. Nicely done. Points for GT. Yes. Well, I was saying I was impressed because I doubt they got more than maybe a few hours on Saturday afternoon or evening to run through that as a group,
Yeah.
because they wouldn't have brought them all in for the week or anything. And then I got a kick out of it. God has pointed out that, look, the BC Lions, who play in an indoor stadium, are one of the few sets of cheerleaders that have a full parka.
Yes.
Yeah.
I said they thought they were going to be in the Grey Cup, so they prepared.
The Ticat cheerleaders weren't even messing around. They were wearing their winter boots. Everyone else had runners on.
Yeah. Well, they were doing that whole thing in the I don't know if you watched the pregame show, but the whole thing with the one panel all in parkas and the other panel in their suit jackets, and that it was right around zero. It was like 2 degrees when they're out there saying how cold they're. I'm out in 2-degree weather with a 3/4 zip, and it's not freezing like they had it going. Anyway, now have we covered it all?
Now we've covered it all.
Okay, well, we're pushing right about an hour into this, so just let me take a moment to say to the folks out there, one thing that they do teach is when you're doing lectures and presentations and stuff like that, is that if you go over an hour without a break, you tend to start missing things, and we don't want that to happen. So if you feel like it, just pause it here for a minute, take a couple of seconds break. If you haven't subscribed yet, it's a great time to hit that subscribe button. If you have, well, then throw up a like or put a comment in. We'll wait here. Come on back. Oh, you're back. Okay, good. I hope you did subscribe, because this is going to be this is the ultimate show of this season, so we don't want to miss this when we come out next year. Make sure you get subscribed and notifications on. And we'll talk a little bit of news here. I don't know how much we cover on these things, but if you've got anything to say, jump in. First item I have is that after all the excitement and the O'Shea watch of where was he in Toronto, where was he in all week and everything. He signed back with the Bombers last week.
Paparazzi on him at the
Yes,
airport.
Yeah.
yes. So
I was going to say, is this our Kawhi watch, or is this Kawhi watch all
Our
over again?
Ohtani
That's what
watch. It's Ohtani watch. He's on an airplane to Toronto.
The most surprising thing about that is that I read today is that they re-signed both him and Walters on a 3-year deal.
yeah,
So they've always been on 1-year renewing contracts for a long time. So for them to sign 3 years deals, it says something different about Winnipeg. That I think that they've entered that, okay, we're in a rebuild, we know it, and we're going to keep some people around to build us through this.
there's been no word on McManus, who's the assistant GM there, that Hamilton wants to talk to.
If we want to talk Ticats for a second,
Sure.
this opens up McManus to go to Hamilton, I think, because if there's a 3-year deal, he's not sticking around. And they interviewed him last year along with Ted Gubaya. And we have a little family group chat, and I was like, Danny McManus is interviewing this week, and everyone in Hamilton loves him. We love him. We'd be so happy if Danny Mac came back to Hamilton.
When he coached in Calgary, I used to live right across from the stadium, and I would see him every so often, and I would just get starstruck and just stand and stare at him, and he was probably so uncomfortable.
He's like this weirdo girl.
Hey, there's a cost to being famous.
Love to see him back in Hamilton. Marwan Hage is there. That'd be great for Hamilton. Yeah.
Just see Peter Diakowski and Mike Morelli to
Yes.
join up, and we'd be the whole gang would be back together.
Well, my mom is petitioning to make Peter Diakowski the new commissioner, so we'll see how.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is.
Yes, I've seen a couple of comments from him that might be good. He certainly isn't impressed with how they rolled out the new rules.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, well, I guess that would move to one of our next points in Mr. Johnson's presentation.
I just want to quickly, since we're talking Ticats, I just want to say that it's been floated that Kent Austin might be interviewing for the Argos head coaching job.
Yes, it is. Apparently, he's
GT on a scale of 1 to 10. How excited are you about that? How would you rate this coaching interview?
I don't know.
You know what? I would be happier with Kent Austin than I would be with Chris Jones. So there you go.
Definitely.
I'll tell you that much.
Another 2 guys who were trying to GM and coach and
Yeah.
Yeah. But apparently Austin, I can't remember the university he's the OC at down there in the States right now, but they said the head coach has been fired. So he may be looking for a job.
Exactly.
Chris Jones is so excited.
The other name people keep coming back to is Noel Thorpe out of Montreal, the defensive coordinator there.
I was saying he was coaching himself out of a job there yesterday. I was like, ooh, I don't know, Noel. Like, what?
I didn't think the defense played that badly. It was just, like GT said, mostly they were having trouble tackling.
Something that I noticed, why all of a sudden with the game on the line and a minute and a half left or whatever, is there a pass to Alexander Hollins? Like, what was that about? I didn't even know he was still on the roster. I don't think he's played in a month. And all of a sudden with the game on the line, you're throwing him the ball when, where's the guys that you've lived and died with?
Where was Speaker?
Yeah, where's Speaker? Where's Sneed? Where's Philpott? Where's, the list goes on and on. Why are you trying to catch the other team off guard? Like, what was kind of a call was that? And why was he even on the field? I didn't get that at all.
Yeah. Unless somebody got nicked, I don't know. Because, he did get the one catch, but then the next play he was 15 yards offside before the ball was snapped.
Yeah, exactly. Again, a guy that hasn't played in 4 weeks, and you throw him out there with a minute and a half left in the game. Unbelievable. Anyways, we digressed again.
Yes. Well, yeah. Well, we were talking. I'll let everybody know I'm going to jump one item in the show rundown and then come back to it, because GT started saying there when we were talking about Diakowski that, I don't know if anybody stuck around for the awarding of the Grey Cup there, but they Everybody was quite happy when they awarded the 2 trophies for the MVC and MVP, and then they called Stewart Johnson out to award the Grey Cup, and it just erupted with boos. The entire time he was talking was loud and long booing until
And
he
I
got to
didn't
actually
quite
handing the cup
understand that.
over.
Well, people, there's a whole group that were like they were all getting coordinated to boo him because
Well,
they're
they
Yeah.
wouldn't
upset
let
about
them
rule
bring in their
change.
signs, so they had to do something.
Yeah, you're not allowed to bring your signs in.
Why wouldn't they be booing? I would have been shocked if they weren't booing him.
They
I would have
used
been.
to
I would have.
boo Randy, though. I think they used to.
Oh, there
Not
was a
like
small
that.
amount. Yeah,
And
but
maybe not
but
as many.
yeah, but not like you. But Randy also didn't, completely try to change the game
Yeah.
on us. He's the Gary Bettman now. He's, and you know what? If the league can have a commissioner that everybody hates but does well for them, the league will be perfectly happy. Most fans hate most commissioners, so it's not news.
Yes.
But now it's visceral. There is a real dislike for this man at this point in time. Whether that lasts or not is another question. But at this point in time, yeah, I would be shocked. I would have been shocked if they didn't boo him.
I feel like he was doing quite the little PR tour this Grey Cup, trying to like ease everyone's concerns and reiterate, and it just it's so long.
But it sounded like it was right through the whole crowd.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Good.
right.
It was
I would have
all
booed if
that
I
were
was
left
there.
there.
Because those are fans, and fans are the people that really dislike him. Those are actual fans. They're not a bunch of corporate people or a bunch of, consultants or whoever he asked about the changes. No, these are the real people that paid real money and that go to the game every year. And those are the people that he doesn't want to listen to, but those are the people that are buying tickets, and they're not happy. A lot of them are not happy.
An awful lot. And the thing is, you're right, he was doing a PR tour, and even that he wasn't doing well. Because I mean, the
No, he wasn't.
first thing that I heard was last week that I think it might have been to Farhan Louji. I'm not sure. Whoever asked him the question about will we change the number of downs, and he kind of waffled way back in the original press conference, and he came out and said, well, yeah, I answered you like I answer my kids when they say, will something ever happen? I say never say never. Oh, that's respectful to the fans, treating them like kids. And then his message all week was, the problem is I haven't explained it well enough. If I just explain it, you'll all understand it and it'll be great.
Great, explain it, because
Yes,
we really
please.
want to know.
Yeah. And
What didn't you explain well enough?
I say to my kids, never say never, but then immediately follow up with, but we're never changing
Yeah.
to 4 downs. Well, wait, is that the left side or the right side of your mouth talking? Because you're speaking out of both sides at this
And
point.
then Solomon Aluminium was like, we want, like, Players Association needs to be consulted next time there's rule change. We're upset that they weren't, and this is so they came out. And interesting about the Players Association is that they were meeting with union reps in Ontario, like that at this week. It was either this week or last week. They were meeting with some union reps. I think Ontario union reps. So watch out, CFL.
The one good thing I did hear out of that commissioner's update was that apparently we will get the 2026 schedule on December the 5th, I believe is the date. So they are saying that the schedule will be out the first week of December for next year, which is again, we're not going to wait until whatever May or whatever it was this past year. So that's good. It's back on. That's good news. And they did talk about the updated website, which would be terrific to have an updated website. Finally, an app for all of our phones, which will be terrific. Finally, an app. And that all ties into our favorite thing, which is, fantasy and gambling. So that's what that's all about. But
maybe they'll have updated player pictures.
Yeah, maybe.
There were players in fantasy who didn't even have a picture this year. Or were from 2 seasons ago on a completely different team.
Yes. And when players came back from when players that you would use in fantasy, the receivers and that came back from the NFL, it took 2 or 3 weeks for them to show up on the rosters. And well. But this is a happy time, so we're not going to bitch. I'm not going to bitch about the CFL anymore. I got all off season to stew over that. Other bit of news, well, and I'm sure everybody knows this, but we'll just put it out there as the PSA. The award winners were announced last week. We had 2 double winners. Nathan Rourke won the most outstanding player and most outstanding Canadian. Trey Vavell won most outstanding rookie and most outstanding special teams. Most outstanding defense was Matthew Betts. Most outstanding lineman was Jamarcus Hardrick. I didn't realize he won it 3 years ago as well, so it's 2 and 3 years. And then the two sort of citizenship types award, Andrew Pate Award went to Andrew Pearson, who I think is with BC Lions on the line, and the Jake Goddard went to Logan Furland. And then the coach of the year, I don't know. I know this. I looked
They're
everywhere.
announcing it at Combine.
Oh, are they doing that?
Yeah, that's when they are going to announce it.
The coach of the year. Okay, yeah, because I looked through. I knew it was Moss and Mace. I could not find an article anywhere that said anything about it. So I broke down and asked AI, and they said Corey Mace won, but I know AI lies a lot. So
Yeah,
I think that's what happened here.
AI said the Alouettes won before the game was even over.
Anyway, so that's congratulations to all those winners. I think we called most of them, and they, I don't know if they were the right choices. I think there might have been some others that I think should have been in there, but overall they did pick good players, and so there it goes.
The only surprising one for me was Vavel winning both special teams and rookie. I didn't think that would happen, as we talked about, but other than that, they were pretty much on. So
okay then. So the last thing we're going to do before we sign off for the year here is I asked everybody just to take a look back at the year and maybe find out one thing or something that will stick with you from the year that you'll remember. It could be a great play that happened. It could be something your team did or didn't do. It could be a trend in football, anything like that. Just sort of a thought to sum up the year before we sign on out. So any volunteers on who would like to go first?
Not I.
somehow it's usually me shooting my mouth off, so I might as well do it again.
Go for it.
So I would think that what I will remember besides the rule changes is a podcast. Being part of this podcast and having the opportunity to do this every week, and to think that there's actually people that come back to listen to it after hearing it once and putting up with me and the rest of us, but particularly me. I really appreciate all of the time and everybody that has listened to it, even for 5 minutes, even for 1 minute over the course of the entire season. And thank you everyone else for being on here and allowing me the opportunity to waste your time. So, but football-wise, field-wise, season-wise, I think we saw the emergence of a couple of real stars in upcoming quarterbacks between Nathan Rourke and Davis Alexander. I think we saw the reemergence of some veterans like Trevor Harris. I would start with him, and Bo Levi Mitchell, and I think even Vernon showed that they're still around, and Cody, is not giving it up yet. So veteran quarterbacks as well. I don't think the quarterbacks are the position is as in desperate straits as everybody seemed to think it was last year or the year before. And I think there's been, there's a lot of promise in a lot of the teams. Calgary has rebounded. Edmonton is on the edge of rebounding, and with the moves in Ottawa, they could rebound as well. So I think that next year is going to be an even closer race in every way than this year was, and we're going to have a lot of great football in 2026.
That's me. Well said. And so I think those are great points. And in response to what you said about the podcast, yes, I agree. Thank you very much to the folks that are actually listening in and viewing this and seeing it. We're growing steadily, which is nice. But the thing that I take as really encouraging is somewhere around 20, 25 is a small number, but that's not our total listeners. That's the people that seem to be waiting for it to come out. And within the first hour or two when I drop it are getting on it and listening to it. So that tells me they're enjoying us enough to be looking forward to it. And I find whoever's doing that, I thank you. We love doing this. I'm glad it's appealing to people. That was going to be part of my ending, but we'll put that in now. So how about MJ? We'll work our way down the row. So
Okay.
MJ2, and then Grizz next.
Yeah, just like GT said, first of all, this has been such a joy for me to talk football with all of you. And it's made me look at games differently and see things differently. And I've grown as a fan. So thank you for all of that. I think we've had some fun as well.
Oh, yes.
I kind of, mine's a lot along the lines of what GT said, but my the kind of takeaway is like players who stepped into the spotlight this year.
Mhm.
And I have a kid who is all about the razzle dazzle. And so there's some players who really were sparking this year. So I mean, like you can tease Newark, but like Carter, BC Lions, Rankin on the Elks, VA on Calgary, like the Moose's loose ears
Mhm.
with like that was just what a joy. Stampede Bowl. That was a lot of fun. Emulus had a great season, like watching Casatonis murder people on a daily, on a weekly basis. Arbuckle and Herslow, like Hurdle and Herslow and Arbuckle connection, that was just brilliant to watch. Maltos Diaz, like with his, kicking the ball up and flexing, and like who says kickers aren't fun? So that was just a lot of fun. The Philpott brothers, like Horvath, Hardy, Scott, like just there was a lot of star power this year, and not just playing well, but just having a little bit of flair that really makes the game.
Anybody have any thoughts on that? Okay, well, I will say that that Maltos also added to his resume yesterday by saving a touchdown, which was kind of neat. Because that one return that Super Mario got to the 45, if Maltos hadn't been there, there was no one else to push him out. He would have scored. So that was
Yeah,
impressive.
he was going in without it.
Yeah. But I agree. It's been a good year for players engaging the fans. There have
Yeah,
been
it's been
more of
fun.
them than there have been most years. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot easier to get engaged. Okay, so MJ.
Yeah. Um, Thank you again for letting me come on the podcast. MJ and I spend a lot of time texting with my family and talking about football. And so it's been really fun to kind of share that with people outside of the family. And I think I've really enjoyed listening to the podcast and hearing different opinions of different teams. And it really has, I think, made this season a lot more fun because I look forward to watching the games to see what you're going to say. So as someone who is a listener, it's been a lot of fun. So thank you for the time that you've taken to be on the podcast. Some things that stood out to me this year, and I was going through a list of things. I'm like, well, the all-female support crew in week 8 in Calgary was
Yes.
pretty great. But I've got a list here of all the hurdles. For whatever reason, I have had so much fun watching the hurdles. Eberhart in BC in the semifinal. Yeah, Herslow, already been talked about. Olet even did one in the final. We've got Brady Oliveira doing one. We've got Justin McInnes. We've got Tanner Green, Sean Thomas Erlington. There have been so many fun. I think that's it. There's been so many fun plays where, and I mean, we saw the one where it went very wrong.
Yes.
But I think it's been a lot of fun to watch these players try something new, to go the extra step, to try something even though it might not work because they love it so much, or they know just one more tackle, just one more tackle to break. And I think we've talked about this on the podcast before of those players that just go the extra mile or that finish the tackle or that finish the run. And I think watching all of these players hurdle this year, like I would never. And so I had a lot of fun going back and watching videos of them today when I was thinking about this, and I was like, yeah, that's what I'm going to say. I think that's something that you don't often see from running backs because it's usually a crunch. And so I think this year they went through the air and it was delightful.
Thank you. And you're right. That's the kind of answer that I was really hoping for this. Some of the stuff that, we would all know, but we wouldn't necessarily think about it. And I have to say, though, I think you missed out one on your list because one of my favorites was the time McLeod Bethel Thompson tried a hurdle on a run. It didn't go well, but he tried it.
But the one where he like leg kicked
Kind of, yeah.
was my Macbeth. I don't have much to say.
Okay, thank you on that. That brings us to you, Grizz. Any thoughts for the season?
Well, I don't. Obviously, you're all very well versed in the CFL and all the teams, way more so than I could even hope to say. But I was just really impressed with how Edmonton turned their season around. Being an Edmonton fan, how they turned their season around from totally dismal, to what I would call a success, considering what they looked like for the first half. And I was that to me was a standout for this season, anyhow. And as far as this podcast thing goes, I think it's kind of a hoot. I'm glad I got asked to be here, and it's been a little bit of fun. I'm not as knowledgeable or as vocal as the rest of you, and you all are very eloquent, I might say. Well, partially, except for the GT guy. He's just noisy. But regardless, it's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And thank you to all of you for getting involved and joining me with this podcast this year. It's been an awful lot of fun, and it's been the regulars here, MJ and GT and I, but when Grizz or MJ2 have stepped in, we haven't really missed a beat. And thank you to the fans again for embracing it and seeming to enjoy it. I think we're quite happy with the response that we got this year. Myself, for the year, I did say it when I actually sent the questions out to you guys. I didn't say this on the show yet, but I did say something other than the rule changes, because that would have been the easy one for everybody. So mine, the obvious one would be that, that the Riders winning the cup and having the best seasons record in the league. That apparently last happened in 1966. They managed to do both of those things. So yeah, that'll stick with me. But more than that, just, I don't know if maybe it's just the way that I look at the game. It seems to me like every year you get a position group that somehow gets injury challenges, that they get more of them than anybody else does. And this year it seemed to me it was the receivers, and both people competing, the receivers and the DBs. You looked at Calgary at the end of the season. One of their bigger problems was that 2 or 3 of their DBs were out hurt. Other teams were the same on it. That seemed to be the area that was getting the injury challenges this year. And that's probably what'll stick with me. Feel free to tell me I'm wrong.
No, you're right. They're right. You're right. There was that year that every team was missing starting quarterbacks and even second level guys. And there was another year that offensive linemen were going down left, right, and centers, So, yeah, it is interesting how you mention it, and I hadn't really put it together, but you're right, how a position group can just dominate the injury list. It happened. Toronto had a few real important receivers get injured, and DBs as well. So yeah, it was across the league.
Yeah. Yeah, Coxie and Daniels were out for them. Calgary lost Bagleton early, and then later in the season we're struggling with people off for 1 or 2 games. There was the one game in Ottawa that they played where they lost it. They had 2 rookies we'd never heard of before, Baldwin, and I can't even remember who the other guy was. And of course, with the Riders, they had Schaefer Baker off all season and Emilus. But then on the defensive side, the Riders had the one game where they had 2 of their defensive backs in for it. Winnipeg struggled with defensive backs a bit.
Yeah, BC struggled with DBs as well. So
yeah. So it's just, that was part of the year. But I think, hopefully people aren't relieved. Hopefully they're disappointed that this will be our final, might not be our final 2025 episode. I think it will. If anything major happens, we'll drop one, but otherwise we'll come on out and put out one probably around the new year, or maybe wait for free agency, the combine. As there's some things for us to talk about, we'll jump back in. So please make sure you subscribe. Like I said, put the notifications on. Don't want to miss any of that. And finally here, I guess, just as we're closing out, I know some of you use social media, some don't, but if you've got a social media you want people to follow you on, hear what you have to say, let them know. And your wrap up for the year, anything you might like to say. Let's go in reverse order. I'm gonna hit Grizz first on this. We're gonna go from the
No, I really don't have much more to say, actually. Than as far as football went, I thought it was a great year. I'm glad to see it was one in the West, but I wasn't really rooting for anybody in particular. I was just hoping to see a good game, and I think the Grey Cup this year was a reasonably good game. Wasn't the best, but it was still a good game. As far as everything else goes, I'm just going to say no. I'm fine with how everything has worked out.
Good. Well, thank you again for coming in. Get that back all healed up. Take care of yourself there. And we'll go at MJ2.
Yeah, I'm wearing my
Yeah, did
I
you have
have
to arm wrestle to be the one to wear that?
yeah, I've got first custody dibs over the jersey, so I want to thank GT for putting up the jersey for auction. MJ and I had a lot of fun trash talking each other about who was gonna get this jersey. So it was a lot of fun this season. So thank you. All I have to say is, yeah, if you want to get in touch with me, message MJ and Oski Wee Wee.
Okay, MJ, you're up.
Yes, well, as we wrap up CFL season, my social media will now be moving towards Love is Blind France or PWA,
Aha.
but I will still be running CFL Outsiders Instagram. Don't you worry, we are on it. For any breaking news, anything that happens, you can find us there. We will be posting about it. Yeah, so if you enjoy Love is Blind France and maybe some Blue Jays free agency and some wild speculation about where Trey Ford is headed, you can join me on Blue Sky at Sports and Plans.
Okay, and GT, your swan song for the season.
Well, it's the end of the season, but not the end of football, because football is a year-round sport, of course, nowadays. And there will be plenty of news. And whenever there is news, I will have a couple of cents to chime in, I'm sure. And you will find that, as always, at GT Barnum on Blue Sky. And that's pretty much where I'll be. And looking forward to keeping up to date throughout the year until we get to, what do we say now? Is it April yet?
Yeah, I guess so. Yep. Yeah, going to be early training camps. Okay, well, not to be repetitious, but I do want to thank you all again, because I started this podcast last year as a single person effort. I like to think it was okay, but not all that exciting. And by the end of it, I was beginning to wonder if it was worth it, because it was a bit of a drag to do it all on my own. Having you all join it this year, I've looked forward to our taping nights now. It's been so much fun. So thank you all. Thank you again to everybody that's embraced the show. Appreciate it a lot. I will still be on the social media in the off season. I'm on the CFL Reddit as I think it's you, Oldman Shouting Cloud. I am on Blue Sky as at Oldman-SA. We're on X and Instagram and Blue Sky as well as the CFL Outsiders. So you can get us anywhere that way. Have yourselves a great, great off season. We'll see you when there's something to talk about again. But for now, for Grizz, and for MJ2, and for GT, and for MJ, this is Old Man Shouting at Clouds, ending the year saying, "Get the hell off my lawn, we're celebrating here."